What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Stocks channel. Today the stock market took a pause, but tomorrow is going to be the main event with the release of the PCE data. Where is the market likely going from here? First up, let's take a look at the S&P 500 SPY ETF. So let's crack open this chart and see what's going on in the stock market today. All right. So today SPY was down 0.13%, so we really didn't go much of anywhere, and we're sitting right on top of that rising 5 EMA. And tomorrow with the PCE data, I see two very likely possible outcomes from the release of this data, and not so much because the data itself is important, but because there is going to be high volume as traders position for the next move in this market. So my suggestion was go into the event with cash and don't care if we go higher or lower during the event. Simply look for an opportunity to trade the market after the event. Just to put that in perspective, if 50% of you said the market was going lower and 50% of you said the market was going higher, then one side of that choice is obviously going to be correct and one side is obviously going to be incorrect, because there is a very slim chance the market goes nowhere after tomorrow when we get the high volume trading. This will be the last trading day of February, and this is going to be the last chance for the blow off top scenario. And while we are talking about the blow off top scenario, I do want to point your attention to Bitcoin, which is already starting to blow off the top. I've been talking about the blow off top scenario, and I've been warning you how it's very dangerous to call a top. And a lot of you even picked up during my analysis how I was saying there's a good chance Bitcoin is going to find a top right around 55,000. However, as you can see, I couldn't be farther from the truth, because Bitcoin blasted through 55,000 and came all the way up here towards the price target at 64,000. So there you go. There's me trying to tell you where Bitcoin is likely going to find a top, and then it just blasts right through it on extremely high volume and blows off the top. Now, this is a good example, and this is why I want to highlight this, is because it is almost impossible to correctly predict where these blow off tops are going to happen, if they're even going to happen at all, and if they do happen, how high they're going to go. So there's two options you have during a blow off top. You can continue to try to call a top, or you can just wait for the top to reveal itself and then react accordingly. And what I'm suggesting for you to do is wait for the price action to reveal everything, and then take the highest probability chance from the trades that we get after the fact and after we see the price action. So right now, looking at Bitcoin, we could see something very similar happen in SPY, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, and I'm not going to even give you a % chance that we could see this event. I'm just simply telling you, you can't rule it out. So going into tomorrow, I think cash is king, and essentially what cash is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to react. And when we have cash, we couldn't care less if the market goes higher or lower. All that we care is that we go into the next best trade with the highest probability chance. So I can't tell you with PCE data whether the highest probability is to go higher or lower. All I can tell you is that we have a bull trend, which means it's very unlikely that we want to bet against the trend, as I just got done showing you in Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin can see high volume buying and get a blow off top, there's no reason we can't see the same exact thing in SPY. So if we get the blow off top scenario in SPY from here, which I told you above 500, it is possible we continue to blow off the top, then we're going to be looking for a very high volume buying day that is going to push us towards that price target at 514. And depending on how high the blow off top goes, we could push all the way as high as 520. So I'm not saying this will happen. I'm going to give you the scenarios. And I just got done telling you I'm sitting in cash and couldn't care less which of these scenarios play out. My plan tomorrow is to use my cash and react to the price action that I have. Now, if we get the opposite reaction, we're going to get rejected from this price target at 507, and we're going to shoot down towards this gap fill at 497. And then once that gap fills, we have to see if buyers show up or if we just continue lower and go for the next gap at 489. So if we're going to give equal legs to this move, we're likely going to blast all the way down to 497 in the bear scenario. And if it's extremely bearish, we go all the way down to 489. So the lower legs will bring you to 497, and below 497, we go to 489, but that will require the break below support right around 501 to 502. And the bull scenario is as simple as resuming the bull trend towards the next higher price targets at 514 and then 520. So again, nobody knows which one's going to play out. That's why cash is king, especially as a trader. And if you're an investor, simply holding onto your swing trades as long as we have the bull trend, then there's really no action to take until we lose this support right around 500. If we break down below 500, I would definitely get risk off, because you have no idea how low we're going to go. And we all know there are a ton of gaps to the downside to fill, and we know gaps typically fill in ETFs like SPY and the triple Qs. So we know the downside risk, and we're traders, and our job is to manage risk. So if we break support, you need to manage risk, and it doesn't get any simpler than that. So I do think this is still a very easy and very simple chart to read and a very simple market to trade. I'm simply saying I'm not willing to bet whether we go higher or lower after PCE data, and that's why cash is king, and that's why we're sleeping in cash gang, baby. On the NASDAQ 100 triple Qs, we were down 0.53% today, and the triple Qs closed right on top of that very important support that I was telling you about, which is this support right around 434. Below 434, it is likely we are going to break down towards this gap fill at 425, or at least the support at 428. So if we draw this out, if we break down below 434 tomorrow after the PCE, we are looking for a very quick move down to fill this gap at 425. If we get the blow off top scenario, we're going to push higher towards that price target at 442. And I know that doesn't seem like a very exciting blow off top move, but you have to remember the triple Qs are already very elevated, especially after large moves in stocks like Nvidia. So yes, we could go higher than 442, but I'm not going to get overly zealous on a price target here. 442 is the target, and if we break above it, then we break above it, and maybe we go higher towards 450. So if we get the extreme scenario, maybe 450. But again, I just don't see the point in getting overly zealous in either direction. I'm simply expecting to just react to the price action, but obviously everybody's going to have their own strategy. So going into tomorrow on the triple Qs, it's going to be a very critical support test at 434, and the bulls simply need to push a little bit higher to get to the next target higher at 442. We still have the bull trend and we're still above support, so it's still a bull trend until it's not, which means we can continue to go higher and eventually get that blow off top scenario. On the Dow Jones, we were flat on the day, only going down 0.02%, and intraday we did come back down to the 13 EMA and we closed right on top of the 5 EMA, so we did not fully close the gap at 386. I'm not expecting anything crazy in the Dow. To the downside, we could go fill the gap at 386 or hit the support at 385, and if we break below that, we simply come down towards the rising 50 EMA right around 380. To the upside, we need to break above 391 to 392, and then we can start pushing higher towards the next price target at 400. On the Russell 2000 IWM ETF, we were down 0.82% today, and we did not fill the gap at 201.6, but we almost did, so maybe we fill that gap early tomorrow. But as you can tell from the arrow, I still think there's a good chance we push higher towards 207 and then 214. And I'm going to remain bullish in IWM as long as we can hold this support at 196. If we break below 196 or we start heading down lower tomorrow and we can't hold this support right around 199, then we can start getting more risk off, because if we get a lower low rejection, this will look like a double top that's going to take us back down towards 190. On the ARKK ETF, we were down 0.74%, and intraday we almost fully closed the gap at 52.2, but we also have this gap down here at 50. Both of these gaps will fill, we just don't know in what order, but we definitely know it's going to happen tomorrow with the PCE data, because there should be plenty of volatility. So watch the gap at 50 and the gap above 52, and if we break above 52, that's extremely bullish for a push towards 54 and then 57. On the VIX, we're up 3.06% today, and the VIX is still crushed down below 15, and I still think there's a good chance we see the VIX come all the way down towards 12.8 to 13 before we see a spike in fear. Remember, tomorrow is the last day of the trading month and it's PCE data, so we should see some fireworks, whether that be a major VIX crush down towards support or a VIX spike higher towards 15. We'll let the price action do all the talking and then react to the price action. On Bitcoin, we're currently up over 9%, and Bitcoin is trading above 62,000. So as I said earlier during the SPY analysis, this is the blow off top scenario in crypto, especially in Bitcoin here with the very high volume spike, and we're way outside that upper Bollinger Band. Now with blow off tops, they go up very quickly, but eventually when they do reach a peak, they come right back down just as fast as they went up. So if you are chasing Bitcoin here, you are going to be in for a world of pain. If you're a Bitcoin bull, it's unquestionable you should be locking lots of profits up here at these targets, because during these high volume pushes, you want to make sure you're securing profits before we see the high volume drop. Now, obviously, don't let me tell you how to trade your crypto. If you're a Bitcoin bull and you think we're going higher towards $100,000 and you don't want to miss it, then don't let anybody tell you you have to sell anything. This is simply my discipline and how I trade that's speaking here, and you can do whatever the hell you want. You could stay bull above 52,000, but just keep in mind what I said about the blow off top scenario, and I do believe this is a blow off top in crypto, and I don't think these gains are going to stick. But I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong in the future, so maybe this is just one of those times where I'm going to be wrong about Bitcoin, and maybe it really is going to blast off here and continue higher. On Nvidia stock, we were down 1.32% today, and Nvidia came back down to the 5 EMA, and it's still holding that level as support at 772, and we simply just need to hold above this breakout at 740 to stay bullish towards the price target at 850. Now, we all know there's gaps on Nvidia, there's gaps all over the chart, but they're a fundamental breakout gap, which doesn't mean they have to fill. So all we need to see in Nvidia is a hold within this range above 740 to stay bullish. And then if we break below 740, then it's likely we're coming back down towards 703 to 689. If we bounce off of this support and break resistance at 816, I think we go to 850 next. On Tesla stock, we were up 1.16% today, and the Bollinger Bands are expanding, so I do think we're going to close that gap and hit the price target this week at 207, and then once we get to 207, we could see some profit taking. Once we get to 207, we could continue the downtrend and go for that next leg lower in the 160s, or if we break 207, then I'm looking for the next targets higher at 214 and then 225. So 207 is the critical level, and we need to see if we break above it or get rejected from it. On Apple stock, we were down 0.66% today, and I still think there's a good chance Apple does a little bit of a bear trap move towards 177 before we push higher towards 187. But if you want to stay bullish above 180, that's completely fine. Just keep in mind, below 180, I'm calling it a bear trap because this will look like a head and shoulders that's confirming on a breakdown below 180, which is the neckline. A bear trap simply means that it won't actually be a head and shoulders. It's just going to look like it is one, and then we'll continue higher. And I think that's the highest probability chance right now because we have such a bullish market. If things change, I'll update the analysis, but right now that's my preferred call, and the critical levels are 180 and 177. To the upside, we need to break above 182 to 184, and then we could hit that price target at 187 to 190. So jumping back over to the S&P 500, like I said before, I'm going into tomorrow completely in cash, and I couldn't care less whether we go higher or lower. I am planning on trading after I see what PCE data does to the price action. So if you want to witness that, you are going to want to be in the Stocks Channel Discord server as I walk through it step by step and explain any trades that I'm going to make. If you see somebody talking about price action during the day and as it's happening, you are going to understand how you follow price action and how you trade it. These videos that I do at the end of the day are great, but they're only going to help you see what we're talking about at the end of the day when we see the closing price action. And that is great for swing trading, but it's not going to do much for your day trading. So if you want to become a better price action trader and see how we're managing risk and how we're reading the charts, that's going to be in the Stocks Channel Discord server, which you can find out how to join in the link in the description of this video. So remember, tomorrow is likely going to be a major catalyst, whether it's higher or lower, we couldn't care less. We're going into it with cash and we're going to react accordingly. So good luck tomorrow. Remember to stay disciplined and always manage your risk. And I do think you're going to do just fine in this market as you start to hammer down these skills. So thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you're crushing this market. And as always, I will see you in the next episode.